This is a meditation on auditory thoughts. Auditory thoughts are the chatter in the mind that most people experience on a day-to-day basis. It's the internal conversation, the internal dialogue we continually have with ourselves without realizing it. Most people are not very aware of the thoughts that arise in the mind. The normal response is for our attention to be caught by and identified with thoughts. The problem is that some thoughts can be very critical, judgmental, and harmful. Our lack of awareness around this process of thinking may cause us a lot of distress and misery. This meditation will bring awareness to the process of thinking by bringing awareness to the space where thoughts appear in the mind. This will train the ability to observe thoughts without getting caught up and identified with them. Take a comfortable posture with your back straight. Relax your shoulders and arms. Relax your whole body while keeping your back straight. Gently close your eyes. Take a moment to just relax. Relax any tension you may have somewhere in the body. Maybe there's tension in the shoulders, the jaw, the face, the breathing. Give yourself permission to be right here where you are. Now, mentally say your name a few times in the mind. Focus on the sound internally as it appears in the mind. While you're doing that, notice the location where these sounds are appearing. They appear in a specific region in awareness, typically somewhere near the front of the head. Now stop mentally saying your name, and just notice that quiet space where the sounds appeared. Just observe this quiet space in the mind. This is the space where thoughts appear. This is called the auditory thought space. Just observe the auditory thought space and witness the flow of thought. Let go of your involvement with everything else and focus your awareness on the auditory thought space. Ignoring body sensations. Ignoring the sounds in the environment. Focus exclusively on the flow of thought in the auditory thought space. In this auditory thought space, there's either going to be thinking happening or there's going to be quiet. Sometimes there is thinking, and other times there is quiet. You're noticing the process of mind. When you notice a thought or thinking taking place, you can mentally say the word thinking. This is a mental label. You're using a word to mentally label what you're experiencing in a given moment. The thinking may last or disappear after you label it. Either way, just observe it. If another thought arises, once again, say the label thinking and just observe. Try to hear thoughts as just sounds in the mind. To the best of your ability, become less involved with what thoughts mean, what story they're telling, and hear thoughts as just meaningless vibrations appearing in the space of the mind. Just be a detached observer to the process of thinking in the auditory thought space. We stay focused on the auditory thought space and notice when it contains thinking or quiet. Awareness of anything other than thinking or quiet can be considered wandering. So if your awareness turns to focus on a body sensation or a sound in the environment, just notice this as the mind wandering. The mind will wander, but that's okay. Just notice it happen and then return your awareness to the auditory thought space, which contains either thinking or quiet. We're not interested in the content of thoughts. We're not interested in the story that thoughts are telling. We're only interested in noticing the process of thinking, whether thinking is happening or thinking is absent. We observe thoughts arise and pass without becoming involved in them, without becoming involved in their content. We only hear thoughts as sounds, as vibrations appearing in the mind. If the thinking stops, continue to maintain awareness of the auditory thought space. Hear the quiet that is present, and enjoy that quiet, and wait there for the next thought sound to arise. Perhaps you can catch thoughts at the very beginning of their arising, and just let them pass through. If you want to use mental labels, you can mentally say the word thinking whenever you notice a thought appear. You can either use mental labels, or you can just observe the space without using labels. No need to try to make anything happen. No need to try to interfere with the process of thinking or quiet. The attitude we take is one of passive observation. Just observe thoughts arise and pass away. The process is not under your control, so just relax and watch the show in the auditory thought space. There's either thinking or quiet. Pay close attention to whenever a thought appears in the auditory thought space. You can mentally say the label thinking whenever you notice a thought appear in the space. We only need to be aware. Just observe either thinking or quiet. If awareness shifts to something other than thinking or quiet, just notice that as wandering. The mind will eventually wander away from the auditory thought space. If your mind wanders, that's okay. Just notice that and bring your awareness back to the auditory thought space. And continue to notice the thought sounds that flow through the space. Every time you notice the mind wander and bring awareness back to the auditory thought space, recognize that as a success. You're strengthening your concentration each time you bring awareness back. It's like building a muscle, but the muscle of concentration. The more you exercise it, the stronger it gets. Just continue to keep your awareness on the auditory thought space. Notice the thought sounds that flow through the space. We're training to gain awareness on the process of thinking. We see that thoughts can just be let go and allowed to pass on their own. By learning to just be aware, disturbing and unwholesome thoughts lose their ability to cause harm. They're just arising and passing sounds in the mind. There's nothing to them, no substance. They're just vibrations of sound arising and passing. Continue to be aware of the auditory thought space. The mind thinks thoughts like the heart pumps blood. The process happens on its own. Just allow this process to unfold without interfering or judging. Just be aware. Be a passive observer to the process of thinking. We're not focusing on the content of thoughts, but just the process of thinking taking place in the mind. Sometimes there is thought, and other times there is the absence of thought. Just notice this process of the mind. Just be aware of whatever is occurring in the auditory thought space. Just allow thoughts to arise and pass without any attempt to interfere with the process. You'll see that the process is not controllable. Just be aware of the space where thinking occurs. There's either thinking or there's quiet. If you want to use mental labels, you can mentally say the word thinking whenever you notice a thought appear. You can either use mental labels, or you can just observe the space without using labels. Just be aware. If you notice the mind wander away to something else, such as a body sensation or a sound in the environment, then that's okay. Just notice that, and then bring awareness back to the auditory thought space. Every time you bring awareness back, you're strengthening your concentration. Remember, we're not concerned with what thoughts are telling us. We're only aware of the process of thinking taking place. Just hear thoughts as sounds appearing in the mind. Each thought makes a different sound. As you pay close attention to the auditory thought space, you may learn a lot about the thinking process and begin to discern a lot of nuance in the types of thoughts that can arise in the mind. There may be full sentence thoughts, one-word thoughts, and what I call proto-thoughts, which are like little thought blips that only make a very brief appearance before they disappear entirely. Thoughts tend to disappear once we notice them. Continue to be aware of the auditory thought space. When you're ready, you may open your eyes. I hope this meditation will help you become more aware of the process of thinking in your life. May all beings be happy. May all beings be peaceful. May all beings be healthy. May all beings be free from suffering.